Yo guys, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to this $700 AMD Ryzen 3 gaming build featuring NVIDIA's GTX 1050 Ti. You can do 1080p at 60 FPS, medium to ultra settings on most AAA 2017 titles like Battlefield 1, Far Cry Primal, and GTA 5, as well as plenty of other games like Overwatch and Counter-Strike or League of Legends if that's the more esporty type games that you want to play. So with that being said, let's jump into the processor. What we have here is AMD's Ryzen 3 1300X with a stock frequency of 3.5 GHz, a turbo of up to 3.7 GHz. It can be overclocked via the stock cooler up to 3.85 GHz, though if you want to go higher like 3.9 and potentially 4 GHz, if you hit that margin, you're going to need to use an aftermarket cooler. This does have a TDP of 65 watts and it has 4 total cores. This processor will not bottleneck the 1050 Ti and it should do fairly well in more CPU intensive tasks like GTA 5. Though if you want even higher frames and you want to get say a 1060 or 580, I would highly recommend going over to Ryzen 5 for the 1600, which will be about $70 more than this part. Moving over to the motherboard, we have the B350 from MSI, the Tomahawk. It's a full ATX form factor featuring the B350 chipset, which can be overclocked, has 4 RAM slots supporting all the way up to DDR4 3200 MHz. The faster RAM that you have, Ryzen is able to Ryzen scales better with faster RAM, so you want to make sure to get the fastest RAM possible. And then it does support Crossfire and it has 4 SATA 6 gigabits per second SATA ports, as well as USB 3 and gigabit Ethernet and a USB Type-C port. It also has a really nice blackish red gaming theme. Moving over to the graphics card, we have EVGA's GTX 1050 Ti, sorry, with a 4 GB VRAM buffer, core clock speed of 1.35 GHz, and a boost up to 1.47 GHz. It requires no external PCI Express power, so you only need to use the included the power from the motherboard via the PCI Express slots. There is no Crossfire or SLI support. It does support G-Sync and it has a DisplayPort, HDMI, and dual-link DVI, and can output up to 4K. It's a dual slot card and it's relatively small, so it can fit in mini ITX form factor cases. And it will also do 1080p at 60 FPS for most AAA titles. But if you want to get a slightly better card, I'd really recommend going for the RX 470. Although this card is only about $150, the RX 470 due to crypto mining ends up being like around $300, so that's why I recommend going for a 1050 Ti for now. Though if you can get a RX 470 for under $200, I would highly recommend picking that up over the 1050 Ti, because it does offer about 30% better frame rates. Moving over to RAM, we have the Corsair Vengeance LPX 8GB kit. There's 2 4GB RAM DIMMs, and it's at 3000 MHz. Again, Ryzen does better with higher RAM frequencies, so 3000 MHz definitely the way to go. Though if you do know about overclocking with XMP, I would highly recommend picking up a 2400 MHz kit and then overclocking it all the way up to 2933 MHz, which most people have been able to do with Kingston's HyperX Savage memory, which is a little bit cheaper than the $90 part for the Corsair Vengeance memory. And this is only 8 gigs, so if you're doing some sort of video editing or something that's going to require more than 8 gigs, please make sure to pick up 2 kits of these. Moving over to storage, we have the Samsung 850 EVO SSD. This is a 250 gig SSD for about $105. I picked up the 850 Pro for 250 gig for only $80 at Fry's, so I'd highly recommend looking around, researching for sales before you buy straight off from, say, Outlet PC or Amazon. Moving over to the hard drive, we have 2 terabytes of Barracuda Seagate 72,000 RPM mechanical hard drive. I would highly recommend going with an SSD and hard drive combo for the fact that an SSD, you can keep all your main games and a lot of your programs on it, so you can keep that super fast performance, and then a hard drive for all of your actual Steam library, as Steam takes up a lot of storage nowadays. Moving over to the case, we have the Fractal Design Core 2300, a full ATX mid-tower case, and this one is relatively not that large. It can feature full ATX motherboards. It's in a black color, and a lot of people say that's a really good bargain. It has some really good, it's a really good case from a really good company, and it has plenty of fan options. It also You know, it's all a very clean setup, so it's not going to get in the way of anything. Finally, the power supply, we have the Corsair CX 2017 550 watt 80 plus bronze certified full ATX power supply for around 30 bucks at Newegg. This is somewhat overkill for this build, but it should be able to very easily manage the around 300 watt TDP for this whole entire build. You can get a slightly lower watt power supply, but for $30 and you're getting 80 plus certification and you're getting a power supply from a pretty well reputable manufacturer, Corsair, you really can't go wrong there. So with that being said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this build. I know it's been a while since I've uploaded a video, and I know this build may not be the best you can get out. Well, actually, it's a pretty damn good build for $700, though due to crypto mining you can't really get an even better build than this one, just because GPU prices are on the rise and RAM prices are also at an all-time high, as well as SSD prices. So I'd highly recommend waiting and looking for sales so that you can get cheaper RAM, cheaper storage, and you can get a proper GPU. But for now, this is the build that you can get at around $700. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave me a like, comment down below, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.